I'm back from the International OCD Foundation Conference on hoarding. My decluttering buddy and I both went, and we were both wiped by the end of it. Sessions start at 8 a.m. every morning, a few even at 7. There's only 15 minutes in between sessions, so outside of the lunch break, you're basically running to the restroom to pee and then going to the next presentation. Plus, there are evening support groups and activities. It's an incredibly dense schedule. At the start of my talk, I was surprisingly nervous. I was also hit with a wave of emotion and started crying. Seeing the people in front of me all wanting to learn more about this frustrating condition really moved me. I know how hard it is to recover from hoarding issues, and I was proud of every single person who was there looking to change. Therapists and professional organizers also attend the conference to learn more about hoarding disorders so that they can better help their clients. Since my talk focused on how self-compassion has changed my outlook and the way I relate to objects, I'm not going to slip into self-criticism mode and focus on what I would like to have done better in my talk. I'm going to focus on what went well. I was worried my talk would run over the 90-minute time frame. Part of me thought, just talk faster. But it was important that I get to the end of my material because that's where all the concepts come together in a practical sense. So the night before, I marked chunks in my notes that could be skipped if I was running behind. And I'm glad I did because I ended up cutting some of those pieces and things timed out well. I was also worried that my material would be considered too hippy-dippy for some of the attendees. It might have been for some, and that's okay. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but a number of people came up afterwards to say they liked the presentation. One person told me, when you said, "I'm not loving myself," I think that can help me. Hearing that feedback was really great. After last year's conference, I mentioned meeting a young girl who was there to work on her collecting behaviors. She and her parents were at the conference again this year. In the presentation description, I asked attendees if they have a journal they've been saving to bring it. And she did. After the conference, she texted me to say she's going to work on practicing daily gratitude and being more kind to herself. I can't tell you how happy that made me. The fact that she and her parents are taking this on at such an early stage is truly an inspiration to me. Almost 2,100 people attended the IOCDF conference this year, but only about 100 attendees were there for the hoarding track. Here's the thing. It's estimated that 2.3% of the population has OCD. They estimate between 2 to 6% of the population has hoarding disorder. Personally, I think that's an underestimation because so many people with hoarding issues keep it a secret. One of the hoarding meeting planning committee members shared how they're scratching their heads over why attendance for the hoarding track isn't higher. With the estimated prevalence of hoarding disorder being about double that of OCD, why aren't there more people attending the hoarding track than the OCD track? I told him I'd ask you kind folks for your input and would appreciate your help. The annual conference is a really unique opportunity to meet with other people dealing with hoarding issues. When you're there, you feel safe in sharing because there's no judgment. We're all there because we want to change and improve our lives. During my presentation, I shared very personal things, embarrassing things, and people thanked me for my honesty because they could relate. When we're alone, we think it's just me. And believe me, it isn't, not by a long shot. I met my local decluttering buddy at the conference 3 years ago. Pam from Ohio, I love seeing you year after year. Mabel, I miss you this year. And Anne, thank you for sharing your comments about my sessions this year and last. Now, it is an expense to attend. This year's conference was in Austin, Texas. They announced that next year's will be in Seattle, Washington, July 31st through August 2nd. IOCDF does offer a number of scholarships with discounted registration rates, and conference volunteers receive a free registration in exchange for volunteering one shift. But even with discounted or free registration, everyone has to cover their own travel, accommodation, and meals aside from a light breakfast buffet that's included each morning. Here's the input I need from you. If you're interested in attending the conference but haven't done so, could you please comment and share what has kept you from attending? Were you not even aware there's an annual conference on hoarding? Is it too expensive for you to attend? Is the travel distance too far? Is leaving your home for 3 or 4 days not possible? Do you have pets but no one to look after them for you? Your feedback would really help. The hoarding track gets a limited number of session slots for presentations. Right now they get no slots on Sunday. My understanding is that the hoarding track might get more slots if attendance was higher. If you don't feel comfortable sharing feedback through the comments section, there's an email address below. Having to put together a structured presentation was incredibly helpful for me to organize all the stuff I've been doing to shift my mindset. I started sharing that stuff here, but I didn't have a clear sequence, especially when the stray cat saga cropped up and interrupted what I had started. So what I'm thinking of doing is somehow sharing my presentation material here. Maybe do a chunk at a time in each video. If that's something you'd be interested in, let me know and I'll brainstorm ideas on how I could pull it off.